Hello, Algebra 2 students. I'm taking a look at this 2A review for Bell, and we're looking at this kind of like a review for a test that's coming up next week. I think you're reviewing tomorrow also, and I'm going to post that assignment also. So there's going to be two assignments in this video. So determine whether y varies directly with x. If so, find the constant of variation. So remember the constant of variation, y equals kx. The constant of variation when it's written this way is just going to be that k. If there's anything else over here, if there's like a plus something or a minus something or anything else going on over here, it does not vary directly. So that's going to be, a big no over if there's anything added or subtracted to this equation. Okay, so take a look at this one. Yes, because it looks like y equals kx and the k is 5. This one, y equals kx, but there's more added to it, so this would be a no. This one, and hopefully you pause this as needed because I'm going to go quickly through this. This one, we have to get y by itself. So when we get y by itself, yeah, we have y equals kx. So in the k is the constant is -7 halves. Try 4 on your own. 5. So y varies directly with x. So that means the constant is y divided by x. Y divided by x. The k is y divided by x is what I'm trying to say there. Pretty difficult this morning. Okay, so I have 3 divided by 2, y divided by x. So that's my constant of variation. So if my constant of variation, I look at that formula I talked about in number 1, y equals kx is my constant. I just plug in that constant, 3 over 2. And so 3 over 2 times -5 gives me -7.5 if my x were to be -5. So that's your final answer. That's what y would be. Find the slope. So I'm using the slope formula, the second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. So I have my first and second x and y, my first x and y and my second x and y. So I end up with this 5 minus 3 and -1 minus 2. And I just noticed something, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of a change here. Oh, no, I'm good. I thought for a second there I thought it was negative, so yeah, -1 minus 2 is good. Okay, I'm good. So 5 minus 3 is 2, and -1 minus 2 is -3, so my slope is going to be -2/3. Try the other two on your own. Make mistakes, learn from them, move on. I did 9 and 10, mainly because I skipped 9. I did 10 first, and I came back. I was like, oh, man. Well, I wanted to show you this one because when the slope is 0, you're just left with the y-intercept. And so if you have a 0 slope, think about it. If you have a 0 slope, you're going to have a no-slope line, and y is going to equal 2. So if I were to graph that, it would just be a flat line at 2, where y, no matter what x equals, x isn't equaling anything. It's just y is constantly being a 2, no matter where you're at on the line. Okay, and then if you have a slope of 2/3, I just plug that in, my m, my slope, and the y-intercept, b, I plug in that 3, that +3. For number 11, I have to use the y equals m times x minus x1, and then plus the y1. And I just plug in these numbers. Here's my slope. Here's my first x. So minus a negative becomes plus, and I'm adding the 4. And I just work it out, use the distributive property, and I end up getting y equals 3x plus 7. You may want to pause these because there's a lot to these. 13, I got to write in slope-intercept form the equation of a line through each pair of points. So first of all, I have to find the slope, and I do that with this formula once again. And I end up getting -1. Now, with -1 is just a negative in front of this formula. And I plug in my first x and my first y. And I work it out, and I get y equals -x minus 9. Subtracting a negative became positive. Adding a negative became negative. Okay. If I were to use these two numbers, very interestingly, I would get the same exact answer. Y equals negative x minus 9, because they're on the same line. Those points are on the same line. Okay. For number 15, let's find the x and y intercept. So remember, to find the x-intercept, y is going to equal 0. So essentially, you're just going to kind of block off that y, and you get negative 6x equals 7. And then so I divide both sides by 6, negative 6, and I get 7, negative 7, 6. This one, my x is going to be 0, so I have negative 2y equals 7. So I divide both sides by negative 2, so it becomes negative 7 over 2. So that's the x and y intercept of each lines. So if you were to write this as coordinates, this would be 7, negative 6, and 0. And this would be 0, negative 7 over 2. That would be the coordinates. For number 16, to start you off, I put it in standard form so that you can, put when your y is 0, you'll see what x is, and when your x is 0, you can work it out to see what y is. So I just did that for you, so you could finish it. For number 17, domain and range, and list the domain and range and say whether or not it's a function. Well, here's the domain. Remember, those are all the x values, and the range, all the y values. Notice I have more y values because I had a repeater in the domain. I had a couple of 2's, and because I have a repeater in the x values going to different y values, that is not a function. You do the same thing for 18. You just have to figure out what these coordinates are. By the way, this would be a function because I don't have, the vertical line test tells me it is a function. I don't have a repeating x. This x is negative 3, this x is negative 1, this x is 1, this x is 2, this x is 3. So I don't have a repeating x. I don't have x's stacked upon each other, or points stacked upon each other. Suppose f of x equals 3x minus 4, and g of x is the absolute value of x plus 3. So find each value. So when f, the x is 2, I just plug in my 2 for the x, and I work it out, and I get 2. For 20, I'm going to add these two. So say I'm doing this one just because it was different. My x is going to be 1/3, so I plug in 1/3 to this equation, and I'm adding this equation with my x being negative 2. So I just work it out, and I didn't finish it for you, so go ahead and finish that. It should end up being 1 minus 4 plus 2 plus 3. So just finish that up. And lastly on this one, number 21, the diameter of a tree varies directly with its age. A 15-year-old tree has a 3.75-inch diameter. So, it directly varies. So my constant is going to be the y divided by the x, or the 15 is my y divided by the x, the 3.75 inches. So the direct variation is 4. So my equation is y equals kx. So y equals 4, whatever this x is. So this one's going to be 15, it's going to be, 25 inches in diameter, 25 inches. Instead of 3.75 inches, it's 25 inches. So 4 times 25, I'd get 100 years. So it'd be 100 years old. Taking a look at this I think you're going to get on November 13th. So this is a little bit in advance, and you can come back to this if you don't have this yet. But I'm not going to be here on November 13th, so I wanted to get this out to you. So you're just sketching a graph. So here is my y-intercept, -5, so go down to -5. And my slope is -2. So that means I go down 2 over 1. I kind of ran out of room here. So I'm going to find the previous dot. From here to here, it's down 2 over 1. So there, I put a dot. This one, down 2 over 1. So I'm going down 2 over 1 on each of these, reading it left to right. So that is the line for that equation. for number 3 when x equals 1. So x is going to equal 1 no matter what all the time. So this is going to be undefined. And number 4, try on your own. Number 5, I had to put this into slope-intercept form. So you see me doing that here, getting the y by itself. I end up with my y-intercept -3. And then my slope is down 6 over 5. So down, I ran out of room. So I find, I go back 5 and then I go up 6, so that this would be down 6 over 5. So here's my other point, and I just connect those, and there's my sketch, the sketched line on the graph of that equation. Now we're to go backwards, we're given a line, so find the slope, it says. So the slope is just going to be going down 5 over 3. So down is negative, so -5 over 3. And then we want to write the whole thing in slope-intercept form. I started with my y-intercept as -1. And then I figured out my slope. I go up 3 over 2 to the next point. Up 3 over 2 to the next point. So my slope is 3 over 2. So hopefully this helps Algebra 2 people, and good luck with the other ones.